Hello guys, welcome to the video. So in this one, we're not going to change much. I just want to show you something about methods that you should know. And also we're going to do a bit of a cleanup in this script. This video will be only about that. All right. So we did create a void method before over here. And void is basically like saying empty or something like that. You know, this method can be called without returning anything. It's like saying this method returns void, emptiness, nothing. You can just do something inside of this method. You can just maybe create a boolean just like we did, give it some parameters, and that's it. But also you can create a different type of methods with a different type of return from that method. For example, you can make private bool ready to attack. So now we have a method that is called ready to attack, and it is not void, it is bool. And now this method must return a value. We can see it says not all code path returns a value. And that's why it is underlined. It is showing us an error. And this is what we can do. We can just do some simple check. For example, we can type if time.time bigger than last time attacked plus attack cooldown, then we can return true. Else, return false. Just like that. And now we can use this method to check if we are ready to attack again over here. We can type if ready to attack, then create a bullet and register last time we attacked. So this is one of the ways to make your code more organized. This is one of the ways to make it cleaner, more understandable, and also it gives you a bit of a flexibility without messing with the code too much. Usually, like, you know, the general rule is if you can wrap something into a method, do it. The more methods you have, the better, the more understandable your code is. It is always better to have a couple of methods where each method is responsible for a certain thing. And by the way, method and function is completely the same. You can just call them differently, method and function, but it's the same thing. So yeah, as I was saying, it is much better to have 3 methods where each method is responsible for one thing rather than having one method which does a lot of things at the same time. That's why we're doing it like that. It helps us to organize everything, and it might not look so important when we have such a small script, but it is very important when you have a big game with, you know, like 50 scripts in a folder, so many mechanics and system are there, and personally me, I never remember my code, and I think it applies to many people. You can write your code, but believe me, after 1 month or maybe even 2 weeks, you're gonna forget what did you write there, and when you open it again after a long time, it's just gonna be a mess for you. So one of the goals is to make your code as readable as possible, and for that purpose, we need to make everything clean. You need to understand your code even in the future when you don't remember it. And of course, if you work in a team, this will only help. So yeah, that's why we're doing this. All right, we're good about that. Now let's do some more work over here. So now we're checking if we're ready to attack, and if we are, we're creating a bullet. You also should know that over here, when we return in true, we can do something else before we return from a method. We can take this last time attacked, cut it out from here, and paste it in here. Now, if this condition is met, we're gonna register last time attacked, and then we're gonna return true, just like that. And now this over here looks a bit cleaner. If you're ready to attack, create a bullet. And if you want to know more, you can go inside of a method and check what it does, right? Very nice feature. I like it a lot. Also, I guess I told you before, and I just want to remind you, if you return from a method, nothing after return will work. So in this case, if we return true over here, this code will not work anymore. And usually it's a good practice to write these methods in a bit different way. We don't really need an else statement over here. For one simple reason though. We check the if statement, and if condition is met, we go inside of a curly brackets, we do something, and we return true. If this condition is not met, then this one will not be called. but we still need to return something in a Boolean method, and in that case we're just gonna return false. But now it looks a bit cleaner and easier to read. Yeah. Now there is something else I want to show you. We have a couple of bugs in the game right now. First of all, tower can attack enemy even if it is outside of the attack range. Let's go back to Unity. Let's take the tower and let's make attack range maybe 2, just like that. So it's clearly not in the attack range. But if I go to play mode, the tower will attack the enemy. Alright, yeah. And also, if we kill the enemy, I'm just gonna delete it. We're gonna see a message over here that says that we don't have a transform anymore, but we're still trying to access it. That happens because when we are giving bullet a velocity, we get in direction between tower's head and enemy's position. So this one also causes a problem. For this one, we just need to check if enemy is not equals to null, and for the attack itself, we just need to be sure it is within the attack range. Here is what we can do. We can take this if statement over here, and we can cut this out and place it inside of this if statement over here. Now, this ready to attack check will be done only if enemy within the attack range. And also, since we're checking for enemy over here, it will not attack if we don't have any enemy. So simple as that, we fix 2 bugs at the same time. Now, let's go and make sure it is working, and then I'm gonna show you something else. Yeah, let's go. So I'm gonna go to play mode. Tower is not attacking, it is not rotating, nothing happens. If I take the enemy and move it inside of the attack range, it's gonna look at the enemy and it's gonna attack. And if I delete the enemy, then tower is not going to rotate and it's not gonna attack. Perfect. Now, there is something else I want to do regarding the cleanup. Really good thing to know, helps a lot in the future development. So as of now, we can see we're checking if enemy is not equals to null, and then we're checking if distance is okay, and then we're checking if we are ready to attack, and then we're creating a bullet. And we just have a couple of conditions. We don't have that many, but we're going to have more in the future, because as of now, it's not even a game, but later on we're going to have, you know, something complex, something big. And having even more if statements in one update is really bad practice. So first of all, we should remove the nesting of if statements if we can. One of the ways to do that is to return from a method if some conditions are not met. This is how you do it. Instead of having the curly brackets, which we use to check something else inside of them, we're gonna open curly brackets here, and let's do a bit of a cleanup like that. And we're gonna check if enemy is equals to null, which says if we don't have an enemy, then we're gonna do return. And we just return from a method, and whatever is after return is not going to work. This will be simply ignored. Just like that. And maybe let me show you that. Let's do debug log. I return from a method. Okay, let's save this. Let's go back to Unity. I'm going to increase the attack range. Now, tower is going to kill the enemy, and then, oh, it's not killing the enemy. Okay, let's delete the enemy. And now we see a message, I returned from a method. This simply happens because we don't have any enemy, and there is no reason to do all of these checks anymore. So this is one of the ways to arrange your code and remove nested if statements. And we're gonna do this a lot in the future lectures. As of now, let's remove debug message, and I'm gonna show you something else. Also very cool. When you have just one line of code inside of a curly brackets, you don't have to type the curly brackets at all. This works only if you have one line of code inside of a curly brackets. So you can just remove them and type it like that. And I kind of like to do it like that. If you don't like to do it like that, you open curly brackets, you place it inside, and you leave it as it is. It is completely optional. That's just what I'm going to do a lot. Okay, nice. All right, I think we did discuss a lot in this video, and I think it's enough for now. There are some other things that will be useful, but let's talk about them when the time comes. All right.